Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more predator patterning. And we've got a combination out here today that we haven't tried yet, and one that I'm definitely curious to see what happens, because it could perform pretty good. I mean, we've seen this load perform really well already, but it could also not do all that great as well, because the setup we've got has proven to be very, picky with larger shot sizes kind of like this. So I'm definitely interested to see what happens. But for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some more of these. These are the Hornady Heavy Magnum Coyote shells. They're a 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1.5 ounce of nickel plated lead BB shot, going about 1,300 feet per second. And these shells have definitely shown some good results in the initial tests that we did with them. So far, the track record for them has been pretty good. And as for the setup I've got out here today, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag. And for a choke, I threw in this guy, which is the stock modified choke for the gun. Now on the side of that ammunition box, it does say that these perform best with either an improved cylinder or a modified choke. The first time we tested them, we shot them through a modified choke in my 1187, and they did pretty good. So I figured to keep things kind of even for now, we'll throw the modified choke in this gun as well and see what happens. Now yes, this is an overboard barrel, so the modified choke constrictions between the two are not exactly the same. This modified choke is more open than the 1187, but for the sake of consistency, we're going to stick with the modified choke for today's test. So I'm definitely curious to see what happens. We could get a really good looking result, or we could get a kind of patchy looking pattern, which we've seen happen a few times with BB shot out of that 835. So we're going to find out what happens, I guess. But as for the test, I have the big sheet of paper down there, as well as the chronograph, so we'll be able to see how close we actually get to the box posted velocity. And of course, I do have some templates as well that we can lay up on the target and kind of get a reference point as to how well it would have done in some different situations. So let's get you guys a view of this chronograph, since you really won't be able to see anything hit the actual paper just yet. And we'll take the shot, we'll look at what kind of speed we had, and then we'll go down range and see how it actually performed. So let's head over here and see what we can get out of these heavy Magnum Coyotes through this 835. Alright, so as we can see here, the chronograph read 908. I clearly do not think that's correct, and I'll go back through in the 1187 video that we did, and I'll pull the velocity off that one and throw it up on the screen here, because it probably will be pretty close to that. So odds are the chronograph read something funny, or tried to read the WAD, or something like that, because 908 is clearly a lot lower than what it actually is. But how did it actually shoot down range? Let's go down and take a look. Alright, so now we're down range here at 40 yards, and this is what we got. Now for reference, the paper you're seeing here is 36 inches wide by roughly about 36 inches tall, and the white dot was my point of aim, and we have a good amount of pellets down here on the paper. Now looking at this entire pattern, on the other hand, if you haven't seen the previous test we've done with this, I highly suggest going to check it out to get a better reference point, but this is nowhere near as good as what our previous pattern looked like. We definitely see a little bit more splotchiness in this. I mean, down at the bottom right hand side of that paper, there's nothing. Up at the top right hand side up here, I mean, we have one or two up there, and over here to the left of our white dot, I mean, there's several larger voids over there that we just didn't see in our last pattern with this. So overall here, I mean, is it a terrible pattern? No, I wouldn't say that it's terrible, but we have absolutely seen better out of it. Now, without even looking at our templates, if you took that shot on a coyote or a fox, yeah, he's not making it through that. So is it good enough? Probably, but nowhere near as good as what we have seen in the past out of it. But let's throw a couple templates up here and just take a look and see what it actually gave us. Okay, so let's start off here with our 10-inch circle. And if we put that right about with our point of aim, it gave us 8 pellets within that circle. Now that's probably roughly the size of the vital area, the lungs, heart area on a coyote or a fox. So 8 pellets is definitely enough to get the job done, but I don't think it's as good as what we saw before. And we can definitely see a little bit of patchiness in it. I mean, a lot of those pellets definitely favored the right hand side of our point of aim. So overall here, in our, vital size circle, 8 pellets is what we got. But let's throw the 30-inch circle up, and that might give us a little bit better visual on some of our patchiness. Alright, so now we're looking at our 30-inch circle, And if we line it up with our point of aim, we can definitely see here how we have a few little patches of shot. I mean, right down there to the left of our white dot, there's a little clump, and there's a little string up that way to the right-hand side up there in the corner. And we have a few void areas, like top left over there and bottom right down there. So it is, you know, a good amount of shot within that circle, but definitely not quite as even as what we've seen in the past out of it. But I do have one more template out here. Although I do not have a coyote template or a fox template, I have the hog template, which is a little bit bigger in the midsection than a coyote would be, but it might give us a little bit of better reference point in a hunting style scenario on the side of an animal, what it might actually look like. So let's throw it up here and take a quick look. Alright, so now we're looking at our hog template here, and although it's not an exact representation of a predator, it's a little bit larger, but it still can kind of give us a reference here. And as we can see, we definitely have enough pellets that would have hit that coyote or fox or whatever you would have been aiming at to definitely get the job done. But is it as good as what we've seen in the previous tests? Definitely not, but I think it probably has something to do with that modified choke being not quite as much constriction due to the overboard barrel as what we had with the 1187. So I'm willing to bet that this setup gets a little bit better if we put, you know, a full or an extra full choke in that gun. We just got to test it and see what it likes. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell. And if I didn't mention it earlier, it's what Hornady is calling the Versatite wad, and it's literally just a federal flight control wad that Hornady stuck their name on. There's really nothing different here. I mean, everything acts the exact same too. I don't have one here to compare them side by side, but yeah, it is essentially just a federal flight control wad. So nothing really too special to see on this one. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance there? Definitely not terrible, but not the best we've seen either. And like I already said, I think if we put a tighter choke in that gun, since it is an overboard barrel, I think we're definitely going to see a little bit better overall pattern, or at least a little bit more even of a pattern. But at the end of the day, is that good enough to do the job if that's the setup you had to work with? Yeah, absolutely. Out to 40, maybe 50 yards, there's not going to be a fox or a coyote or really probably even a groundhog that's going to make it through that either. But as usual, leave your thoughts about it in the comments and let me know, is that about what you expected to see, or were you hoping for a little bit better? And if you've ever shot any of these Hornady Magnum Coyotes out of an 835, what kind of choke constrictions have you tried and what have you seen that it likes? Let me know all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. We do have the channel Instagram as well as a mailbox where you can send things to the channel. So if you're interested in either of those, that information will be in the description for you. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.